Recording in progress.
Hey, so this is actually episode 100, believe it or not. Crazy,
Scott's
hey?
be honored.
Hell yeah. So you guys watching and listening, thank you for joining us. Today we have a little bit of a different episode, but not really. Today's guest is not, well, I guess he does play music. He's a music teacher.
Very much a musician.
He is a musician, definitely.
He's a music teacher.
Yeah, you betcha. So today we have a little bit of a different guest. He'll be on in a minute here. Before we get into it, though, he might actually join in as we're doing this, but I just wanted to actually run some stuff by you. We're going to try it a little different, like I said.
How was your week?
Week's been productive. Week was good.
Well, we were productive. You and I from Moose Fest.
Yeah, we got some stuff. Mark and I, we were, starting to get that ball working on the ball rolling on,
or work,
working up a sponsorship list.
Yeah.
Kind
so
of
if you want to sponsor Moose Fest and the podcast or one or the other.
Yeah, for sure, you guys, because the plan is Moose Fest 2022 will be August 6th in Bellevue, Saskatchewan.
Yeah,
for sure. So mark our words, we are planning ahead as usual, considering we will be able to do so when the time comes, right? We'll cross that bridge when it gets here.
Yeah,
because it's like 8 months away. But yes, it will happen.
We were going over some sponsorship packaging.
Yeah,
and whatever.
I think that's coming along pretty good. I did want to try something new though, if maybe the audience is interested a little bit, because you run Funky Moose Records out of the office here. I'm kind of curious on like maybe some top sales or like the hot commodity of the week, maybe. Like, would you be open to sharing that kind of thing? Like, what's the top seller?
Last week we received a big shipment from Groove Washer.
Oh, that's right.
On a pallet. That's the first time. Well, yeah, first time a product came on a pallet. So we got those in. With those were some new Mondo Groove Washer bundles, and inside the bundle is the Groove Washer kit, the stylus kit, a splash towel, some refill fluid, and a few other things that I can't remember right now, but they're priced very reasonable.
So is that like you have to buy that package, or is it like you can buy those items separately?
You can buy them separately, but in this kit it's more affordable. It's a package, so you get a discount.
Makes more sense to just buy the whole.
Yeah. So those have been flying off the shelf.
Hell yeah.
That was they weren't on the site until that shipment arrived. So added them to the website and people seem to like them. So
heck yeah.
Yeah.
So you guys who have purchased them, if you're listening or watching, write in the comments below how the product is, how you're liking it, or if you dislike it and could be something different or better.
Yeah.
Let us know your thoughts on that. And I see our guest is in the waiting room, so we're gonna dive right in it here, and you guys will see us bring him in.
Yes.
Hey yo.
There he is.
Hello. How's my picture? I turned lights off. Maybe I look a little bit.
Maybe you should turn them on.
It's a little dark.
Okay, hang on a second. How's that?
Better. That's actually better.
Our first burning question is, what kind of beer do you have in the fridge behind you?
Actually, I think I've got original 16.
Oh.
We were both wrong.
Damn.
Yeah.
I said
I'm not a Heineken drinker. I hate to say it, being like part Dutch myself, but it's just not a beer that I really dig.
Right. Yeah, but so a lot of people, because I'm Dutch, and you probably get that all the time. Hey, you want a beer? I have Heineken. And I'm like,
right.
Well, people that know that my last name is even Dutch in the first place, yeah, the Heineken thing might come up.
I just found that out like not even 5 minutes ago. Mark was telling me, because I was like, is it Rose or Ruse? And he was like, it's actually Rose.
I'm Scott Roos, managing editor of Northsaskmusiczine, musician, music educator, podcaster, print journalist extraordinaire, and this is episode 100 of the Sit Down Podcast.
Yeah. All right, you guys. We've been doing this for a while. We appreciate all the views and comments that you guys have been submitting for over the past year.
And thanks for watching even.
Well, definitely.
Yeah.
We just want to use this as a friendly reminder. If you're new to the channel, please just click the buttons, like, subscribe, ring the bell for notifications. I mean, it's nothing. It doesn't cost you anything. Just they're right there. Just click them.
It's motivating.
It is. It really is.
And it also helps that when you subscribe, it motivates us to give you new content and give you like new artists to meet, because that's what we do on the show.
Definitely. So yes, reminder, if you enjoy it, if you don't enjoy it, doesn't matter, doesn't cost you any money. Click the buttons, like, subscribe, ring the bell, all of that stuff, please. And thank you. Sweet.
Beauty.
Right on. Welcome to
Thanks for having me.
I almost said welcome to the cave, but it's no cave. Welcome to the show, man. We appreciate you coming on.
Yeah.
So for the listeners out there, like, I actually, first time I met Scott was at Moose Fest, believe it or not. I don't even think we talked that much. It was very short and sweet if we did. But since then, I mean, I feel like every freaking concert I go to, man, I've been running into you everywhere. So it's like, hey, can I sit with you? So that's
we keep running into each other.
It's been a lot of fun. So I kind of want to get into, Mark and I kind of did like a sort of little intro at the top here already, and we didn't mention who you were, but we did say that you definitely are a musician and that you teach music, from how I understand it. But I would like to just kind of get into that, like your love for music and maybe teach, like the teaching that you do. Is it like at a school, or is it like privately, or?
Yeah, I teach at 2 schools currently. I teach at a K-8 elementary school here in Prince Albert called John Diefenbaker Public School. And then every second day I drive out to Kinistino, which is a small town just a stone's throw from Birch Hills, sort of in between Birch Hills and Melfort.
Sweet.
So yeah.
Is it is it like a particular instrument, or is it just all music in general, like the arts of it?
Yeah, like I do teach band. Like when I went to post-secondary at the University of Regina, I was trained to be a band director, but you know, because I teach elementary, like the kindergarten kids and stuff, I also do the other like classroom music component too. So, you know, depending, like, you know, in non-COVID times, there would be different activities that we would do. Like, you know, some certain kids would do recorders, and there'd be like lots of singing activities and stuff, which actually we can sing this year, which is a nice change of pace. But yeah, I'm mostly like a trained band director. I have a high school band in particular.
Sweet. Very interesting.
Yeah.
And then, so you seem like you've got a lot of, for lack of a better word, like side gigs, right? Like, you know what I mean? Is that wrong? Like, am I wrong in saying that, or is that kind of?
No, it's not. I mean, I think as an educator and you know, like I think, just to back this up, like I think being in music, it's about reaching people, right? So, you know, I'm a trumpet player as well. So like I'm not touring or doing, you know, sweaty bar gigs or anything like that as a trumpet player, although that would have been cool in my younger days. But I think, you know, over a 23-year career of teaching and directing bands, I probably reached far more people than I could have ever had doing the other thing.
Right.
And I lived in Yellowknife with my family for 13 years. So I moved up there to do a music teaching gig up there for a while. So then when we came back down to Saskatchewan, because of the, you know, the opportunities to go out, get out and see concerts and things like that. I was kind of, you know, like a bit of a kid in a candy store, you know, like,
yeah,
it's a hustle, right? Like this gig of journalism is a hustle. It's getting to know the people and shaking the hands and so on and so forth. And then you eventually end up going to almost as many shows as you possibly can, you know?
right.
And then you
So-
keep running into people like us.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So, I mean, over the years, like even back in Yellowknife, I started as a independent radio show host that way, and interviewing bands and things like that. And then when I came down south, I kept that going. But then I sort of pivoted a little bit into print journalism as well, because I realized that I'm the guy in this area that can sometimes get the interviews maybe that publications like the PA Daily Herald couldn't get as quickly as I can, because I have like 10 years of contacts in the Rolodex, you know? So that's how I ended up writing. Is I gave one of my interviews to Peter Lazinski, who used to be the editor of the Herald up until I think about 2 years ago. And then he said, you know what, next time you do this, you're going to be writing the article. So then that's how I started writing. And I don't know, I'm always trying to push myself and get better at what I'm doing. So,
Right, for sure.
So do you have a writing background, or was that just something that you kind of rolled
Yeah,
into?
I'm curious about that too. Like, where do you get the knack to put that on paper? You know what I mean?
Yeah, well, I mean, I've like, to take a humble opinion, like I've never really considered myself a writer, but I think, you know, the music business is a very like DIY kind of culture. Like, I mean, it helps to have a lot of head knowledge, of course, and like a trained musical background, but you know, I love music, so I grew up reading music magazines and music journalism, and you know, I'm from the 80s, so you know, Hit Parader and Circus and all of the 80s rock mags were kind of my jam back then. And I mean, I'm an English minor, that's my teachable minor, but I don't really have a writing background. No, that was like the long answer to your short question. Not at all.
Okay.
Excellent. So in continuing with the writing side of it, I bet you've had, you probably got some good stories of like pretty good bands that you've gotten a chance to like hang out with. Am I wrong?
Yeah, well, I think like a lot of the, you know, the big interviews, quote unquote, that I've done over the years were more when I was in radio. And I think, you know, there was a time probably right around the time that internet radio started, there was kind of like it was a bit of a wild west, because I think a lot of artists and publicists and things were sort of scrambling to just figure out how viable internet radio was, or even campus FM radio and things like that. So if you got in on the ground floor early, then you were able to, you know, and you were savvy about it, you were able to make a name for yourself. So I've always been about like stepwise, you know, moving the ladder one rung at a time. So I would set short-term goals, and then I would set long-term goals. So several years ago now, because I'm a Kiss fan,
Nice.
shirt, I thought I need to interview one of the original members of Kiss. So I just kept working my way up the ladder and hustling until I ended up in 2016 chatting with Gene Simmons for 15 minutes on the phone for, you know, an independent, you know, podcast that was going to go out to a couple of campus FM stations. But, you know, I mean,
holy crap.
Nice.
Yeah, like I mean, Judas Priest, Iron Maiden, you know, Philip Anselmo, Pantera. Like I really like crawled up the ladder with metal bands, because I'm kind of like a lifelong fan of like hard rock and classic metal and stuff like that, because that's what I grew up with. So, you know,
so how nervous were you on that call with Gene Simmons?
I was crapping myself.
Right?
Real honestly, like I mean, not to cop ego, but I've kind of developed a reputation in doing what I do, and you can hear it in a lot of my interviews too, for not really being nervous. And it doesn't matter how big the artist is. Like, you know, when I was talking to guys from Def Leppard, like it didn't phase me. And I love Def Leppard, but when I had Gene on the phone, my heart was just pounding. They call you through a third party office, right? And then they hook up Gene, and then the PR will be listening on as well, just in case you ask any bizarre questions, they can shut it down. And they called me, and they said, "Oh, Mr. Simmons will be with you in about 5 minutes. Sorry, he's running late." So I was already nervous about the phone ringing.
And then you have to wait 5 minutes.
Right?
Yeah. And then finally he comes on, and Gene is just, it's the way you see him on TV, how he's really calm, almost like unnervingly so, is kind of how he is on the phone. He's like super serious. And you know, we were there on the phone because he had something that he wanted to talk about. And that, when you have Gene on the phone, and a lot of people that have interviewed Gene can say the exact same thing, but he will push that main thing as much as he possibly can. Doesn't matter what question you ask him. You know, what color is the sky? Oh, by the way, Kiss has a tour.
Yeah.
You know, like it'll be something like that. I love him though. He's a super nice guy. There's absolutely, like, he's funny and quite charming. So
have you talked to anybody on the show, Mark, that like have you had any nerves come up
That
from
made me
somebody
nervous? Not at all.
that's been on the show?
No.
Not one like? It's
No.
happened to me a couple times.
Yeah, I know.
I get very excited, right? Especially when it's somebody new.
He can't shut up when he's
I think the most nervous I've ever been out of all the episodes we've done is for sure number one was when we had Hendog and Josh Potter on.
Yeah.
I was out of my mind. I'm such a big fan of Josh Potter and Hendog too.
For 2 days. You were like,
oh my God. So for sure, and like people listening are like, who the hell are those people? Right? Don't have a clue, which is fine. It doesn't matter. But that was for sure my number one. And my nerves were up there too when we had Theory of a Dead Man on. 100%. They were. I wasn't as nervous as, so Josh and Hendog was the first time like that my nerves got that I got that nervous. And because I had experienced that once before, like if I hadn't went through that with them, I would have been at that level with Theory of a Dead Man.
yeah.
Right.
And
but
then
because I kind of knew what to expect and myself, then I was like, okay, I can kind of get a little bit of a grasp on it, but I still don't have it. I don't have it covered yet. I'm sure
that we have the guys from
again.
Sheepdogs.
I wasn't that nervous for them, actually.
No, because that was the last one.
I guess the last bigger one, and it's not that I'm definitely a fan of the Sheepdogs. Maybe it's because they're local. So I'm kind of like, they're right there. So yeah,
they're on the cover of Rolling Stone, but
right.
It was a 10-year anniversry of that cover just not too long ago.
Actually, that's true, right? Yeah. Hell yeah. Shout out to Sheepdogs. You know what happened to us yesterday? I got to give a shout out or an apology to Sam from the Sheepdogs.
Oh shit. Yeah. I was looking up I was trying to find him on Instagram or something to apologize.
I private messaged Sheepdogs on Instagram. I don't know if they'll get it or not. So what happened was we were meeting some people, and I happened to, long story short, is I opened the wrong door and walked in on him while he was like drumming. And I don't think he was too happy about it. Well, I think it was just a surpse. It was unexpected. I walked in. I was like, oh, this isn't the right room. I was like, oh shit, I'm sorry, man. Like, sorry.
That's not the guy we're supposed to meet.
Yeah. so I kind of just like crept out, closed the door, and I was like, I didn't even recognize him. And then after that, they were like, oh, that's Sam. And I'm like, oh shit. So Sam,
sorry, Sam.
I'm sorry, dude. That was totally me. My apologies.
You heard it here first.
Yeah.
It's funny that you would mention some of the Canadian bands, because to be honest, like I get probably more nervous if it's a Canadian act that I kind of grew up with, and there's been a few, like Jann Arden, she made, I got nervous for that one. Tom Cochrane, I got nervous for that one. Who else? Well, Bruce Coburn was one of the first interviews I ever did, and I was really, really nervous for that one. So I mean, like, yeah, I don't know, when you grow up with the Canadian artists and they're sort of like in front of you on your screen. Nice.
How much of a coincidence is this?
What Mark's holding up, for those of you not watching, Mark's got is that like a new one, or
it's a Jann Arden Christmas album. I don't know how old it is. 2016.
Nice. Jann is so awesome too. She's so funny and charming. Very, very nice, very giving of her time. I remember once, speaking of stories, I have a million stories.
Yeah.
But
true.
on my show, I was doing a whole month of like 3 or 4 shows of episodes where we just talked about the Junos and stuff. And it was the year that Jann Arden was hosting. I think the Junos were going to be in Calgary. I can't remember what year this was. So I was like, okay, she's hosting. Let's just randomly email and see what happens. And the very first time I interviewed her was way back in 2012, the summer of 2012. And during that time, she actually gave me her personal email. She does weird stuff like this. So I just emailed and said, hey, like, by the way, I'm doing this. Oh, okay. Well, I'll literally have 5 minutes tomorrow at such and such a time. Give me your number and I'll call you. And she literally like was, the bus was like idling. They were getting ready to leave and she called me and we had that conversation for the exact amount of time that she had, which was 5 minutes. Yeah, it was. Yeah. Yeah. Like that's the kind of person she is though. Like, I mean, she is represented by a pretty strict PR firm, if it's still the same one. So sometimes it's kind of hard to get around that firewall. I just happen to be lucky enough to have that personal email.
Heck
and,
yeah.
You know, I haven't emailed her in a really long time because I'm doing something different now with you know what we're doing with Northsask, right? So
well, we want her on the show, so can you share that?
Yeah. shoot her our contact info.
But like, you know, this is another interesting thing about Jann though, is we were at the Calgary Stampede a few years ago too, and she was hosting the grandstand, and there was a whole bunch of kid performers that were part of the show. And I don't know if this is true or not, but when she said it, I thought that is actually pretty true. She gave her private cell number to all of the kids that were in the production. Just kind of like, hey, you know, if you want to talk or text me, here's my number. And like, apparently like a whole bunch of the kids were like, okay, let's do this. Jann said it's okay. So here we go. And then she was talking about it at the grandstand that last, you know, the night before at like 11:30 at night or whatever, all of these little like 7 and 8 year old dancers were like texting her and trying to, you know, get her attention and stuff, which I thought was pretty cute. Yeah, that's the type of person she is.
I think she's on Cameo.
Is she?
I think so. I'm gonna check that out as we're talking here, guys. But
there you go.
But he can't chew and walk at the same time.
No, dude, my brain, I'll literally be saying something as I'm thinking another thing and simultaneously thinking another thing at the same time as my, like, all that's happening all at the same time.
And
I think
when
I need
that
meds,
happens,
dude. I need
while
to be
you
on
talk to
medication.
him, you can see his eyes just glaze over and you're talking to a wall.
Oh, dude, I think I need medication. Cameo. I'm sure that she's on there. I think it was like a year ago. I was trying to think of like a solid way to, well, maybe not so solid, but something fun to like try and promote the show or podcast. Right. And I was like, oh, I'll just get somebody on Cameo to say something, you know, for like a couple $100 or whatever. So I started looking up Canadian artists and stuff. And then there's even like, you can get like Tommy Lee and Alice Cooper and everything, but they're like $400 or $500. And I'm like, maybe for what we're doing, not quite in that price range. And then we had on, from Elephants and Stars,
Manfred.
Yes, Manfred from Elephants and Stars came on, and we were talking about how he had gotten, he had done that to
Donald Trump's lawyer.
Yeah, what the hell's Trump's, the one that like went to jail and everything? Do you know who that guy was? It'll come back to me.
Yeah, I probably when this show's over.
I forget the name.
Yeah.
But anyway, so he had gotten Trump's lawyer to like, you know, Elephants and Stars are the greatest band in the world out there, and he did this Cameo thing.
Trump doesn't like Elephants and Stars.
And he was like so excited about it, and like when he put it out there on social media, it had like 0 hits. Like,
oh no,
nothing. But I mean, it's still fun. Like he did it for himself, right? Which I get, and I'd be totally on board with doing that. But I freaking laughed damn hard about that one.
I saw the other day Martin Kove is on Cameo, the guy that plays John Kreese on the Karate Kid movies and on Cobra Kai. We're big Cobra Kai people here at our house and our family.
Is it good? I mean, obviously, because you're watching.
We like it. You really like. I mean, you really have to be into like the original Karate Kid movies, but I mean, not per se. It's good though.
Oh yeah,
$158 Canadian. I noticed too, like there is corporate or not corporate, but you can. There's a price.
He didn't hear what you said. So
that they're Cobra Kai family in the household, and you really have to be into the old movies to be.
Martin Cove, John Kreese is on Cameo. That's why I brought that up.
Right.
Yeah,
right.
and when you said Cove, it's Cohen. That
Andrew Cohen, Michael Cohen.
Michael Cohen.
Michael Cohen
that's
was the
lawyer.
guy that Manfred had got to
word association.
Yeah, that's awesome, right?
This episode is brought to you by Inspired Vapor Company. It is a father-son organization that helps people get rid of darts. So if you're a smoker and you want to transition into vaping, which is healthier than smoking, check out inspiredvaporcompany.com and use promo code, what did we say?
Moose10.
Moose10
for 10% off, you guys. Yeah, I still want to do that. I'm still like sifting through it. There's a lot. I watch a lot of stand-up comedy and podcasts and stuff like that. So I'm like drawn to the ones. There's a couple in particular that are on Cameo that I would love to have, but it has nothing to do with the show. So I'm just kind of, I can't do that because it's not the right fit.
It doesn't make sense.
It doesn't make sense to do it, but yeah, maybe Tommy Lee. Oh yeah, I was gonna say there's a separate price, right? So you can get like, you know, whatever it is, a couple $100 to get a minute shout out from whoever it is. But then there's like a business price, so you can get them to like promote your business, but then you're looking at like $1,000 or $2,000 for the business shout out, right? So I've been contemplating it, but it's not in the budget.
No, we should just get those people on the show.
Hell yeah, dude!
Instead of a Cameo.
Freaking rights, it'll happen.
You know, you can accomplish anything. You just, you know, like to publicists, you got to prove your stats. So if you have something like really like either that, or you have to be like, okay, like we've had these guys on the show. It really like this guy isn't too much further above what we've already done.
Yeah.
That's how I did it.
Yeah.
That's kind of how we're doing it too. If we feel like there's an artist that we want on the show, and it kind of depends on, do we need to convince them?
Yeah.
Usually artists are pretty open and say, yeah, sure.
Yeah. Honestly, it's when you have to like go around the side, like go through management or PR people or that's when it's like, you know what, never mind. Like, it's all right.
Yeah.
I'd rather
it's a totally different ball game when you get there, and we've had to do that with the webzine a couple of times, like not too many times, but a few times we've had to justify. But I mean, I've been able to luck out because, like, with the Sheepdogs, for instance, you brought those guys up a while ago. Like I've interviewed them in the past, so. If you're a known commodity, but maybe your stats aren't that great, sometimes they'll be like, okay, fine, whatever. What's it going to hurt? It's 15 minutes of their time.
Right.
Yeah.
And I've done that a few times, not a lot of times, but
yeah,
I mean, sure. we're about the indie artists for the most part. And if we get the odd big fish in, then, that's cool. Like we can just say, hey,
exactly.
This major artist has been on, and But we're probably gonna draw more views by like writing about 7 Mile Sun than we would having a bigger artist on, because we know that, I mean, I just bring up 7 Mile Sun because I was just looking at their stats before I came on. But I know that we're going to get 7 or 8 shares, and we're going to get at least 250 to 300 views if we write a piece on them. Whereas I could have a different, more established star, and if we're not getting the shares, then we're not going to get 300.
Yeah,
exactly.
Yeah.
So then, what's it for? Street cred? I don't know. Like, just to say that you did. Like, I'm kind of like past that or over that.
Right.
Like,
well, and I think. We're kind of on that same page too. Like realistically, this show that we're doing, we from day one, we've done it for us. We're not doing it to be freaking rich and famous or anything. Like, we're legitimately using our platform to do the best that we can to help promote these indie artists.
For sure.
That's all it is, because we love the music. We're fans of the music, and this is how we can show our appreciation to them and what they're doing and our love for them. And then this is kind of the way that we're trying to give back to them, to show them like, hey, you have our support. Like, we got your back 100%. And that's all this is. It's for us. It's not for anybody else, right?
Yeah, like we wanted to give ink to people that maybe wouldn't get it from, you know, other publications because of whatever reason.
Yeah.
Like, you know, I also was, I haven't in a really long time, but I was writing reviews for Exclaim, and, you know, the odd Saskatchewan artists, they would kind of let me, you know, do my thing. But I've literally, for every one Saskatchewan artist that I've been able to write about for them, I've probably pitched like 10 or 11. Right. So I was like, okay, like, it's great that, you know, I can every now and again get something through, like, you know, Patrick Moonbird, for instance, is an artist that I've written about for Exclaim, you know.
Nice. Yep.
But it's so rare that it was like, well, you know, how can we pivot and you know, use our talents and our connections in a similar way and kind of build up street cred over time. And, you know, a lot of we've managed to like have like a bunch of writers and photographers just come and volunteer their time. We have so many great people that are, you know, for lack of a better word, working for us. It's not really work when you're sort of volunteering your time, you know, and when you love what you do. But
it's legitimately a friendship. Like, from what we're doing, like, everybody, well, okay, maybe not everybody, but a good chunk of the guests that we've had on, even like last year in the past, we're still in contact with them.
Yeah.
Like, I'll give a shout out to Justine Giles. I talk to her like freaking 2-3 times a week, man.
Yeah,
like, we talk you know what I mean?
Day before yesterday.
Yeah, like them, and obviously like the Hour Hand Weapons. Like, I talk to them quite a bit. Maybe they just think I'm a creep who's constantly DMing them or something. But dude, they're awesome because they always answer, right?
Talus did moon you the other day.
That's true. Talus, I saw his bare ass the other day. That was pretty funny.
Yeah. Well, I think as an independent journalist, you have those artists that you champion, you know? And you know, to have relationships and friendships is nice, but like, you know, first and foremost, like, the music, and if you actually dig it, is why he forged that relationship in the first place, you know?
Yes.
And you 100%. Dig 7 Mile Sun.
Oh yeah, I'm a massive fan. I mean, I'm a fan of a lot of Saskatchewan artists the more I go down that rabbit hole, but
freaking right.
But yeah, I mean, like of all genres.
Yeah, as am I. There's a lot of people in the last 6-8 months I've never heard of, and we've had them on the show, and then I see them live, and it's just like, holy crap, these guys kick ass. The Garrys. I didn't know who they were till we were freaking getting them on the show, man.
Oh my God. I always tell this story about how, like, the first time I saw them, they were opening, the Black Cat used to be called Vangelis. I don't know know if you know your Saskatoon venue names. I just know that. And I saw them, maybe it was like 2015. It was a while ago. And it was the first or second show that they had ever done. And they were opening for Tara Lightfoot. And there was maybe 10 people in the room.
What?
Well, and 10 people, including the Garrys, were watching Tara Lightfoot play at the Black Cat / Vangelis. Yeah. And I had seen Tara Lightfoot, and I had interviewed her a few times because she played up in Yellowknife. So I happened to be down in Saskatoon, and I was like, hey, Tara, you know, be mind if I'd like to come down and check out your show. Yeah, sure. We'll put you on the list, blah, blah, blah. And here, the very, very young Garrys were playing this, and they made an impression on me because they had that unique sort of gloomy surf rock minor key thing that they do. Even way back then, they were sort of doing it. So it was really cool that they've kind of, you know, at least for me, they've come full circle, and we're, you know, picking them as like album of the year. And, you know, Will wrote a really great write-up about the Garrys and how cool and hip they are. And now, like, the Garrys themselves are filling rooms when, you know, back in 2015, there's just you know, basically people were there to see Tara. I was only like 5 or 6 people, right?
For sure. For sure.
So, okay. So let's get back to your music zine a little bit, because
Right.
that's your baby right now.
Right now. Yeah.
Well, I mean, I have a feeling that could pivot at any time.
No. I mean, we're not, you know, I like to do a lot of things. I like to involve myself. Like, you know, I don't know if I'd ever go back to indie radio because that's a lot of work, like just the playlists. And then, you know, if you're doing like an interview every week and stuff, there's certainly like stations that want to have me back that I, you know, if I wanted to, I could, but.
So
yeah,
how did you start? I mean, you were writing for Exclaim here and there, or for the Herald here and there, and then you decided, okay, I got to do this on my own.
Yeah, I mean, basically, and it's because I love doing things for the Herald, but if I want to write about an act out of Moose Jaw, that's not going to happen for the Herald. The Herald wants, for the most part, either local PA events or local PA artists shared in their pages, which makes sense because they're the Prince Albert Daily Herald.
Yeah, right.
And then Exclaim is very particular about who they want in their major publication. So there's only so much I can get through there. So it was basically just a decision of, I want to write more, so I'm going to have to start my own thing, and it can't just be me because it's not a vanity project by any means. I don't want it to look like a vanity project. So I knew a couple of guys. I knew Mark Allard Will out in Saskatoon, and I had met him a few years prior in Yellowknife. He's a comic book writer. And I knew Will Yanakoulias because we just randomly met at that Chesterfest Battle of the Bands thing a few years ago. And he was a guy that I thought was pretty hip and pretty cool. And we were pretty like-minded, and we were both music fans. So I mean, really, like, I didn't know those two guys could write. They didn't know that I had any experience writing, and we just started it. And we had Deanna at the time, who had done some, you know, had experience in event photography. She, you know, like in 2019, she was at the SaskTel Center shooting Judas Priest. So she, you know, over the years, she got pretty decent at shooting bands. So it was like, okay, we got 3 writers and a photographer now. Let's go.
Yeah.
Yep.
Oh, I love that.
Yep.
I freaking love that. It's like, if how is that saying? If you build it, they will come. Right? Field of Dreams.
Yeah, I don't think that's what this is. But it's...
You don't think so? Because it's like it's what you want to do, and you just go out and do it.
Yeah, but I think Scott is doing, and the team is doing it like we are, like for ourselves. If nobody listens, whatever.
Right.
Well, I think what blows my mind is, like, there's people out there that kind of care about what we say. It was really evident when we did this awards issue, and people were like, wow. And
you got a lot of shares there.
We did. And it, you know, and like I said, it depends on the band, right?
Yeah,
like,
I guess.
You know, like, and that's partly why we did that, is because, you know, there's bands and there's artists that had worked very closely with us that we were big fans of, that had been in our pages multiple times, and we wanted to recognize them. You know, and maybe, and this is no slight on any other organization, but it was to recognize maybe these artists that are local to PA and area. I mean, we do a lot of work between Prince Albert and Saskatoon. Let's not kid ourselves. So it was, you know, a lot of the times, and we try and get out and do other areas as much as we possibly can, but we wanted to recognize those artists that had been so supportive of us. And, you know, there was a reciprocal that we were also supporting, kind of a give and take kind of thing. Yep. So, you know, we had done an awards issue the year before, so it was kind of like, well, let's do it again, but make it a little bigger this time. And so, ta-da! Yep. I mean, we've added people since then, right? There's, like, you know, other writers, there's other photographers. Geez, I hate, you know, like, I always think of the original 4, but then, like, I always worry that I'm gonna forget something, right? But, like, you know, we've got Copper Blue photography and design. That's like Tracy Creighton. She's great. We have, you know, Janice of JPSR Photography, who's based in Edmonton. We have McDermott Images now that shoots the odd show for us. Who am I missing? Jesus, see, I need to write these damn things down. Just we have Shelby Savoy, who's in a band called Set to Flames, but she writes for us and she's up in L'Orange. Like there's just, we've had other writers that write for us that kind of come and go, guest writers and different things. Like Dara Shindelka for a while was writing for us, and Mark Hodgman, who lives in North Battleford, was writing for us for a while.
Well, the band is Enderby now, but what
they changed their name.
What was it before? We had them on the show.
What?
Oh, geez, I can't believe I can't remember this. These are things that I should know that my mind just goes blank and I forget.
Yeah, because they were on the bill for Chesterfest under the old name.
That's right. Yeah.
We had them on the show?
Yeah.
I have no freaking idea.
I think you did.
Yeah, we did for sure.
Yeah, but I think you had them. I think you had them as Enderby though, right?
Nope, definitely
it was
not.
under the old name.
Oh yeah, I'm
But
trying to remember. Oh, it was the High Tailors.
The High
That's
Tailors.
who they were.
That's what
Okay.
it was. Yeah.
Yeah, and then there was a whole thing about how they wanted to branch out and experiment with different genres. So they I think they're still doing a thing as the High Tailors, but they're also Enderby now as well.
Yeah. So when they played at Chesterfest, I saw them walk by and I was like, "Hey, what are you doing here?" "Oh, we're playing in a few minutes." "Oh, okay." So I was like,
Looking at the
"Are you in
pamphlet?
Enderby too? What is this?" So I talked to him after. I was like, "What is this?" "Oh yeah, we renamed. It's the same band." I'm like, "Oh, okay." So Shad.
Yeah.
Shad.
Yep. That's interesting how you can just do that. Actually, somebody else told us a story about that. I freaking don't remember who the band was, but it was very early on. And if I'm scared to botch this story, but in a like short form of it is that they were pretty messed up before going on. It might have been like an open mic or something, and they were pretty messed up prior to going on. So instead of using their real name, they just created a different name and went on as the different band, so that if it didn't go well, like it wouldn't have tainted their existing name, right?
Yeah.
And I don't remember who that was, but I'm sure that happens more often than I think.
Yeah,
I like
exactly.
that.
Yeah.
Now I'm thinking I know the story because it was on the show. I think that they told us this.
Yeah, too fun. It doesn't matter. I'm sure they all did it. They all did it.
You think so?
Well, maybe not all of them, but yeah, I'm sure it happens more. Whoa, sorry, dude. Frequent than expected.
Muse Canada is a new arts and entertainment media connection and support network. Skip the algorithms of social media and connect with other entertainment professionals across Canada. Sign up today for just $5 a month.
Or you guys can use promo code FunkyMoose2021 and get 10% off membership. I had another question about the writing aspect of it.
What are your future plans for the magazine? Is it because you're online only right now? Are there plans for
like another goal?
print?
Like you talked about goal setting, like short and long-term goals for the magazine.
Yeah, with this, it's almost been like the seat of the pants, which is not the way I did it when I was in radio.
Right.
And I think it's more just still we're testing the waters, right? Like ideally I would like to have more writers. I would like to be able to cover more of the province. And I know we have North in our name, but we're really like, PA. That's like
North America.
That's our North, but I mean, I don't think we would ever really think about venturing out of Saskatchewan or trying to be like a big, publication empire like Exclaim or anything like that. Right. Our mission first and foremost is to serve venues and artists in the province of Saskatchewan.
Yeah.
And if there's artists that come from outside there, but they're playing in a venue like the Black Hat, and we happen to be there and we can do our thing and photograph and interview or whatever, then fine. Like, you know, if there's a band that's coming to SaskTel Center, even like this was something we were working on. We were trying to get into SaskTel Center to work with Tenille Arts, right? That was going to be a big story. Mm-hmm. And that whole tour, Dirk Bentley pulled the whole Canadian slate of tour dates.
Right.
So that kind of went up on its ass.
That's what Talis was talking about. Tenille Arts and Dirk Bentley. That whole tour.
Yeah, that was me that had brought that up.
Yeah.
Because
that was going to be the big one, because we were going to be covering our first SaskTel Center show, and we were going to be under our own umbrella. Because I even pitched to the Herald, and they're like, oh, well, you know, it's not really PA. You want to talk about a giant show out of Saskatoon, and I was like, okay, fair enough. So then, I think they were going to let us in for that, and hopefully we would have been able to shoot it and, you know, talk to Tenille before and, you know, do things there. And again, we were lucky because Tenille came to the casino pre-COVID. This was in early 2020, actually.
Yeah.
She played a show at the casino, and that's
in Prince Albert.
In PA, yeah. So then we were able to do something there, and then they comped us tickets. So that's how we got to know Tenille, and we got in with our people, because her people were very, very happy with the work that we did.
What was the date that concert was supposed to happen? The Tenille Arts one.
It was going to be on Friday. It was going to be on
like this Friday.
Yeah. Yeah, because your Clash at the Cap was going to be on the 15th, and we were talking about how that was going to work.
That's right. Which we have, which for those of you listening, we have postponed that for the time being. And we're kind of thinking, I don't know, we're tossing around the idea of like maybe May or June or something. Just because of all the crap going on right now, it might not be the wisest decision to do that. Right. So we're like, we'll just put a pin in it for now and come back to it later. But yeah.
But yeah, like that was, I don't know how I brought that up. That was just going to be a very major, like, exciting thing for us.
Freaking right.
I think I love the small venues, and I love even getting in and working with the Rawlinson, you know, whatever, you know, is going on, whether it's full capacity or restrictions or whatever. The Rawlinson's always been very supportive of what I've done with the Herald, or even what I've done with the webzine. So, but honestly, there's no rush like getting into the big arena show and, you know, having your little press lanyard or whatever. And, you know, you as an indie journalist, you feel important for about 10 minutes until they, you know, shove you back in with the Gen Pop again, you know.
Do you get a lot of artists or indie artists like coming to you and asking if you would do a piece on them? Does that happen? Yeah,
like this piece that I wrote on Wolf Willow for this January edition that just came out like last week. They had seen the work that we had been doing with Megan Nash. So, and those guys are all friends with her, so they wanted to get in on some of what we did. So nice. I kind of felt bad because I kind of pushed, like I talked to them way back in August, and I kind of pushed that piece until now. But in the same respect, because we were able to get out and actually see their show. I don't know if you guys have seen Wolf Willow or not.
I haven't yet. No.
They did kind of like a joint CD release show in December with the Garrys.
Oh yeah.
And that was really cool. And Deanna, who I should mention, her thing is called Contingent Colors Photography, and it's on Facebook. She shot both acts, and then we were able to use the pictures for a bunch of stuff that we did just in this January edition, like Will's stuff that he did with the Garrys. It was Deanna's pictures, and the thing that I did with Wolf Willow, that was also Deanna's stuff.
No, I haven't. I was
just
second guessing myself.
Audio issue here. Hang on a second, guys.
We can hear you.
Oh, there we go. I have this like Focusrite thing, but the headphone jack is a little persnickety, and I just like pulled on it, and I'm like, damn, no, right in the middle of the thing.
I can't hear you now.
Persnickety. I like that. Yeah. There's the name of this episode.
It's not Dutch.
Persnickety.
Persnickety.
Yeah. But yeah, like Yeah, like Wolf Willow, they were a band that had approached us. I don't know if you guys know Braden King.
Yeah,
He's
Actually,
friends with.
we were actually supposed to record with him this
he's
afternoon.
going to be on the show
Oh,
here.
there you go.
Very soon. Yeah.
Yeah, he's friends with the Dead Levy guys, and he has this new EP coming out. So
Yep.
he pitched. Somebody else did a few days ago too. So yeah, I mean, it happens, and then sometimes we're going to people, and I think that's just as important because that's breaking new ground. Like, oh, I didn't realize you guys were even a thing. Or sometimes actually lately too, depending on what scene we travel in, it'll be like, oh yeah, I've heard of you guys. So that's that's kind of nice. Yeah, probably the biggest show that we've been to was that Bif Naked one.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, let's talk about
as a
that.
publication.
Let's hear a little about that one. I saw somebody standing outside in line who couldn't get in.
It's not a position I've been in too many times, and I don't know what sort of misunderstanding happened, but I was under the impression that I was going to be on the list. And I had Tracy of Copper Blue Photography and Design that was also supposed to be on the list. And I had never met Tracy. That was like my first meeting with Tracy was like, yeah, so both of us aren't on the list. I came all the way up from PA and I'm not on the list. At least Tracy, like, I think she grew up in PA, but she lives in Saskatoon now. So it was like, okay, well, I mean, I just, lost an hour of my time, but I'm going to drive home, in 10 minutes from now, I'm going to be back home. But so what happened that night was I called Bif Naked's publicist in Toronto. So I don't know what time it was at that point. It was like the doors were opening at 7 or something like that, or the show was starting at 7
or 8 o'clock or something.
Yeah. And I was like, hey, I thought we were supposed to be on the list. Well, you were. I'm like, well, we're not, and we'd really like to get in and cover the show. So then, usually what would happen, and I'm not sure why it wasn't like this like for this particular show, but usually they would be like, okay, here's the road manager's phone number in case you have any problems getting in, just give him a call or a text and he'll figure it out for you. But I didn't have that information this time. But I'd never been in a position before where we couldn't get in, so I didn't really think anything of it. I was like, okay, it would it's kind of nice to have the road manager's phone number, but okay, like whatever. But then we couldn't get in. So then he from Toronto called the road manager that was probably just 100 feet away in the venue. So then I got kicked out of the line and I went back, and Tracy and I were way at the back of the line. And then in the meantime, Invertigo started their set. That was the first opening act. And I was like, oh shit, are we even going to get in here? And then by the time I got to the front of the line again, here, sorry, sir, that you couldn't get in, but you're on the list now. And so is your photographer. So whatever happened in that 15 minutes when we went to the back and got all the way up to the front again, it had sorted out. But it was really stressful up until that point.
I could tell. I mean, I wasn't like bugging you too much there because I could tell it wasn't a good time.
Well, I mean, like, maybe if it would have been just me by myself, but I had a photographer that I really respect Tracy's work, and I didn't want to look bush league to like a person that I'd never met. She took some great pictures of. We keep bringing up 7 Mile Sun, but that's where I know her from.
Right.
So I think 7 Mile Sun did a EP release at the Capitol, I want to say, and she shot that show. Must have been like way back in July or something when things were first opening up. And we saw our pictures and we were like, hey, this is good work. So that's how we brought her on board.
Heck yeah.
Cool.
We're kind of like Wu-Tang Clan. We just keep getting bigger, like first there was 8 people in Wu-Tang, and then the next album there was like 15 or something like that.
20, yeah.
We just keep absorbing.
Where's the first time that you heard 7 Mile Sun?
Well, see, this is gonna make you guys feel good, but it was because of Moose Fest.
Oh, dude.
I knew that.
Did you?
So I was happy.
I kind of had an idea, but I wasn't 100% sure. I thought maybe you had heard them prior to that. No, that's freaking awesome.
And I don't know if you guys reached out to the Herald for coverage or not, but Jason basically emailed me and said, this festival's going on. I'd like you to write about every single band that's playing it. So League of Wolves, the Steadies, and 7 Mile Sun. That's how
I
they
didn't
got
reach
all
out
that.
to the Herald at all. Did you?
I don't think so. No.
No, we had reached out to, was it CTV News or whatever? We were on there a couple times.
Yeah, because we.
So that could have been maybe where they heard of it. Maybe. I don't know.
I think that Northeast Now or whatever the publication is that's through Melfort, they were at Moose Fest and they did.
Oh,
something.
that's right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And Angie, I think, was there.
Angie,
Yes. Yeah, she was there too, for sure.
But yeah, I wrote a separate piece on each band. So then when I'm about to get ready to talk to a band, especially one that I don't know, I immerse myself in the music and I kind of live with the music for a bit and I try and find out as much information as I possibly can. It's a little bit less formal for print because you're not really like you're not in a situation where you're going to have to put the interview out and people are going to be listening to it again and again. Like print, you're a little bit more truncated with what you're putting out there, especially like with the Herald, you have like a 500-ish word limit. So really you're like cranking out, important sound bites of information.
Right.
And so if you've got an indie band, you're like, okay, like this is who these guys are. And by the way, they're playing here. And then that's pretty much 500 words.
Right.
So I did those 3 pieces and I got to know them and League of Wolves and the Steadies. And then of course we were there at the show and then we did a piece for both publications. And I think Will wrote the Northsaskmusiczine piece and I wrote the Herald. So that was pretty cool because we were both literally in the same room at the same time, which, during COVID doesn't happen all that much. Right.
Right.
Yeah. We lucked out.
I have those. I have all of those framed up in my basement too.
Yeah, you do.
I know, and that was very. I love Deanna's pictures of that. I'm not just saying that because I'm married to the photographers. I think she does really great work.
She does.
I could gush about the photographers that are with us like all day. They're so awesome.
Oh man,
I mean that's really like you're in the trenches there. Like
I'm so fired up for the next one.
August 6th.
August 6th. Put that.
Like you got a date and everything.
Put the whole weekend in your calendar, dude. You're coming to Bellevue. It's gonna be a blast.
You're on the list.
We were thinking about driving the van up, for that one, and then I think we decided it would just be easier if just Deanna and I went up.
Yeah.
Not really realizing that you guys are literally in the middle of nowhere on a really sketchy dirt road.
Right, but
that's kind of the cool part of the charm of of Moose Fest.
Of Moose Fest.
Yeah. Is that it's in a place like Bellevue and you're getting a really top flight festival. It's going to be really cool to see more bands and whether you're indoors or out and who knows, I know you're probably wanting to be outdoors because who knows.
This one's outdoors. The next
well,
one's
that's going to be awesome. Yeah, that'll be great.
Oh,
more bands is going to be super cool.
Yep.
And it's, and it would be really nice to see more of that camping just getting used because honestly, like Bellevue is a small enough community that you could basically just have a big Funky Moose family and shindig party type atmosphere if you were making use of the outdoor venue and the camping at the same time. I don't think this should be a drive-in festival. I think this should be a destination festival in similar vein like Ness, but with better Wi-Fi maybe.
Oh yeah. You know what that's funny you say that because we were talking about that a week ago.
Yeah.
The Wi-Fi. And so Mark's point was like the question was, can we get Wi-Fi there? Or like you can, but can we get a decent enough one? And I've been thinking about that and I'm still on the fence of is it worth doing that for the weekend, but then
in Bellevue you mean?
Yeah, like at where we want to have. So we want to have or we're having the event at the sports ground in Bellevue, on August 6th. And there's
where the campsites also
where the campsites are, and there is no internet there unless we bring it there. And then so I'm trying to figure out what's the significance of having internet there. Like why? Why would I do that?
So my main reason would be so that the vendors have Wi-Fi to process their payments. Because I don't know if you were aware at Chesterfest, for example, it seems like all the people that were there were on one cell tower and everybody was sharing shit at the same time and it bogged down and the vendors couldn't process their payments because they didn't have data. That would be my only
reason.
reason to have it there. But it would be cool to, because service is okay now in Bellevue. It used to be absolute crap, but it's getting better.
Yeah. So I guess if you're an internet provider out there and you have any suggestions on what Mark and I can do for the August 6th weekend in Bellevue at the sports ground, please hit us up. Let us know if you have any thoughts or opinions on that. Maybe we want to work with you.
Fuck.
It's convenient from a journalist perspective because sometimes you got to touch base with the artists and you do it in a wide variety of ways. Like, when I covered Ness Creek in 2019, sometimes you just need to be able to contact people, and social media or whatever,
right,
sometimes is the only way you have contact with people. So to have half decent Wi-Fi from a journalist perspective is very, very convenient for setting up little side interviews or whatever.
Right.
So
yeah,
that's my point of view.
That definitely does make sense.
Yeah.
Well, there you go. Maybe I'm leaning to the other side of that fence now.
Oh, thanks, Scott.
It depends on how much it's going to cost, or if you can just get somebody to sponsor it, I guess.
Yeah, that's we discussed that already.
Yeah, like if I got to pay $200 to get it there for 2 days, I don't know. I don't know.
But if somebody says, "Hey, here's internet," we're not going to say no.
Yeah, they'd be like, "Sure, we'll give you your name on the sponsor board."
Yeah,
some iNet up there. Who knows? Oh, dude, but I'm seriously fired up for it. Have I told you who we've got so far?
I think you have.
I have.
I'm trying to remember.
I have mentioned it online before, but I don't know. Like the way I put it out there is you kind of have to look for it to find out who it is. So we can say again who there is. Do you want to take the lead? Do you want to let them know who we got?
I'm still not on board with.
Mark thinks it's too early to say.
Yeah.
But
it depends. Like, you don't want to get people fired up and then have a cancellation or some weird shit happen that seems to be more common than not these days.
Thank you.
Like,
that's exactly my point.
Today the Diet concert at the Rawlinson, which would have been really good.
What?
The Diet and the Love Soldiers was supposed to be playing the Rawlinson in early February.
Oh.
Another Dutch guy, actually. Her husband. She's indigenous from the Yukon, but her husband is Dutch.
So how come like bigger event venue things are getting canceled, but then you've got like I won't mention any names, but there are some smaller venue ones that get to continue on doing what they're doing. So how does that make any sense?
I think it's an artist decision because, my understanding of the way the Rawlinson operates, at least, is they're a city owned and run venue. So they're currently operating within provincial guidelines, which there's no capacity limits. There's just indoor masking and vaccine requirements. Like if the SaskTel Center wanted to run that 30,000 Dirk Bentley show, they probably could. But when you look at other provinces that are running those restrictions, then you can't at that point justify a one-off in Saskatoon.
Yeah.
So it's if you want to kind of predict probably what artists, at least in the near future, might cancel at some of these places, look at the tour schedules, see where they're going to end up going, and then basically realize that Saskatchewan right now maybe is the only game in town. So if you're from Ontario or whatever, you can't string together a series of tour dates. So you're either affording to move down and do a one-off in Saskatchewan, or you're going to cancel.
Yeah, and if you're playing a gig at Amigos without a tour attached,
then you can.
Yeah.
Like, to use Megan Nash as an example. I don't know if she's doing any shows or anything. But if you just have to drive in a few hours from Moose Jaw, crash at somebody's house in Saskatoon, and then drive back, like whatever, right? You could play 2 or 3 shows on the way up from Moose Jaw. You could play Regina and whatever, right?
Right. I think she does have one Is it scheduled? There's one coming up in March for sure.
Yeah.
I think like a record release party, right?
Isn't
March
wasn't
19th
that
or something.
February? I don't know. I don't remember. We talked about it, but I don't.
Yeah, I'll have to look back on the. We had her on a few weeks ago, and we were talking about
Right.
this.
Right.
She's planning, yeah, kind of a bigger concert, which I want to go to. By the way, we're going, right? So, just so you know, you're my date.
Oh.
Yeah.
Yeah, like I don't want to
awesome.
date this interview, but I mean, who knows in the next couple of weeks what's going to happen. I don't want to be the bringer of doom and gloom.
Right. Well, this episode is actually going to be coming out Monday, episode 100 on Monday. So
sweet.
It'll be a relatively quick turnaround. Does it happen where you go and see the same artist more than once? Like, do you frequent the same people? Or not? What is it like? Not a one and done, but it's like, okay, I've I saw 7 Mile Sun. I did a piece on them already. If they're playing at the Capitol next weekend, I'm not necessarily going to go. Like, how do you decide?
I don't know. I mean, it depends. Like, I think for that one at the Capitol, Will's doing this piece on Saskatchewan artists playing Telecasters. It's going to be a really cool thing. Like I've seen the draft. It's going to be a great piece. But for that one, he wanted, like, we had a picture of Anna Haverstock from when she played Ness Creek in 2019. It was like a good picture, but it wasn't like a really good, close, clear shot of Anna's Telecaster. So Will basically said, oh, hey, by the way, she's going to be at the Capitol and also 7 Mile Sun. And so maybe like you can get a few more pictures of Kevin playing his Telecaster.
Right.
So you were there for the Telecasters.
Yeah, I love all three of those acts that were playing. So I mean, Aspen, I think, had already said that he was going to compass. So I said, well, I mean, like, you know, if we go there and we work, do you mind, like, you know, you can see some of the pictures after whatever deal we normally make. Right. Like we'll write something. I think I just said, hey, we'll go to the show and we'll work it because Will wants us to take pictures anyway. And then we'll write like a post-show piece and there'll be a couple of pictures. So that's what we did.
Freaking right. So
that was like a work. It was a fun trip, but it was kind of a work trip. And then after that, we went to go see family because it was like right around Christmas time.
Yeah.
But that was the second time I've seen 7 Mile.
I was about to say, we saw you there.
That's
like
right.
Working.
Yeah.
Well,
I mean,
that would have been the second time you saw League of Wolves as well, because you would have saw.
That's right. Yep. Second League of Wolves. Yeah. I'm trying to think now of, in recent years, the artist maybe that I've seen the most. Probably I've seen Tara Lightfoot 3 times since 2015. I saw her headline Ness. But yeah, I don't know. I mean, I'm not, whatever. I don't know.
Do you ever go?
I'm not giving you much here.
Do you go to a show without like having it tied to work? Like, do you just go and not take pictures or not have a write-up involved attached to it? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, actually, Stephen Williams was playing. This was the last show that I went to. Stephen Williams on Friday was playing the Rock Trout, and we had just cranked out that piece about him being Artist of the Year, and Deanna had seen a clip of him playing one of his new songs, and we went and we took our son with us. Our daughter didn't want to go, and we decided to just see the show and be regular paying customers.
Yeah, cool. Dude, I freaking love it, man. I got so much love and respect for.
We have Stephen on next week, don't we? Or
I'd have to look at the calendar.
Or the week after.
I don't know till like the day before. That's like Scott was messaging me. I think that was last week, eh? And you were like, "When are we on?" And I'm like, "Yeah, I don't know." It's like
apparently I don't know until 15 minutes before.
13 minutes. Yeah.
I'm like, when am I supposed to be on again? 13 minutes from now. What? Oh my God.
That's hilarious. Yeah, that's how I am. It's like, who's on tonight? I guess I got to start listening.
Yeah. So I don't know. you know, to use the old music expression, I'm just sort of playing it by ear right now.
Right.
I think, you know, the Trues, we were thinking about that one too. I think that's, when is that? Late February, mid-February?
The 29th.
But I saw them play. I've seen them play a couple times too. I saw them play once in Yellowknife for the East Coast Garden Party. Is that what it was called? And then they played the Rawlinson a couple years ago.
Wait, hang on. East Coast Garden Party in Yellowknife.
It's a tour, and it has predominantly artists from the East Coast.
Oh, that makes a lot more sense, because Yellowknife is not on the East Coast.
Did you know that the Hour Hand are planning on working with Jay Harvey from Monster Truck? Did you know that?
No, I didn't know that.
So they've got a GoFundMe page. I'll do a little plug for the Hour Hand. There's a GoFundMe page right now. They're trying to raise the remainder of the $5,000 to go out to Toronto here in a few weeks or mid-February. And they've been working with him for a little while, and they're gonna go record some shit and put it out there. So yeah, you guys.
I love how big Monster Truck is now.
Oh man,
I find it hilarious.
Mark took me. We saw them for free in Saskatoon on the Red Bull stage, like just off of Broadway. We went there.
That was like 2015 or something.
Something like that. Oh, they kicked so much ass.
It was so good.
And then I went to go see them open for
on this
Billy
tiny
Talent
stage too.
Yeah. It was awesome. They did.
Do you remember
so
who else played there? Because I don't.
I do not. I just remember Monster Truck, man.
Yeah.
When I was first starting out in 2012, I was working with a PR agent that had a couple of big artists. And, you know, sometimes you got to do this like give and take. So it'll be like, okay, like you did this person. By the way, I've got this new band coming up and they're about to tour with so-and-so. And I think they're going to do all right. You know, do you mind if you talk, you know, do you think you could talk to these guys too? And it's kind of like, okay, we did you a favor by doing this big artist, you know, maybe can you have this band on your show? And the band that I was, you know, doing the favor for the PR firm with was Monster Truck.
Really?
Oh man.
They had 1,500. I'll compare everything to likes on Facebook, because like that's I'm Gen X, so that's mostly like the social media that I do. But they had 1,500 likes at that point. They were nobody.
Oh, and they kick so much ass. I've got all their albums. They're all fucking good. You can hit play on track 1, dude.
Yep.
And put that whole album on fucking repeat. And just let it play, dude. And that's exactly what I would do. Like when I was like just splitting a bunch of wood, like when I had all those cords of wood and I would go out there and buck and shit. That's all with these cans, man. Had my Bluetooth on and I fucking rocked Monster Truck out all summer long, dude, on repeat.
That's like Janelle and Weapons.
Yes, so Janelle got the Weapon, like Adios Radio. I don't know when the hell we got that CD.
At the Rawlinson.
So like when Weapons played at Rawlinson, that's right. That's
Right.
when I got that CD for Janelle. It's still in the fucking juke, and that's all she listens to. That thing's on repeat, man. That EP. And I love you, Weapons. You guys kick so much ass, but dude.
There's a lot of like indie music fandom going on here. We're championing all these great Saskatchewan bands.
Oh well, they deserve deserve every little bit of it.
100%. Yeah. And JJ Voss is a country artist that's, you know, really worked with us.
I want him on the show too.
He's awesome.
Do we not have him scheduled?
No, I don't think so. Unless you did.
Maybe.
Oh,
maybe not.
Maybe he's in the schedule. I don't know.
That name just rings a bell big time.
Okay.
Dude, we're booked into like March.
That's amazing.
So it's like, you know, we book them, they go in the calendar, and then I usually don't follow up till a few days before. So it's like I'll forget who it is until a Sunday.
Yeah.
It's like, hey, we still good for Tuesday?
Yep.
Yeah, the next thing I'm working on is with Donnie Peranto. I chatted with him a couple of days ago, and then geez, that reminds me I gotta text him. But I'm gonna do a photo shoot with him. Hopefully,
Didn't he just play like, okay, maybe this was back in the summer, maybe a little longer than what I'm expecting here, but I feel like there was something relatively big around the area that he did like not that long ago.
I know he just came out with a single. So that's kind of we chat about that. Plus, one of his albums is like turning 10 this year. But yeah, I don't know, just kind of out of the blue, decided to. Well, it was Will actually. He said you should do something with Donnie. So I was like, okay, done.
He's pretty big in the Prince Albert area for sure.
Yeah.
And then who did he used to, who was the country artist that he was the fiddle player for?
Neil McCoy.
Neil McCoy. Yes. That's right.
Yeah.
I could never remember that. Dude, man, I used to know his family quite, like when I was younger, we had season tickets at the Raiders. Right. And then that's the family that we sat with. Like their season tickets were right beside us. So like I sat beside Donnie's mom for years, man, and his brothers. And then I ended up working for his brothers at Coca-Cola in PA.
Huh.
I did like, so yeah, I know his family, like, wow, I knew his family, right? I'm talking like 20, 30 years ago, right? That's a long time ago. Yeah.
So do you know my son's sensei, Wolfgang Meinecke? Doesn't he work for Coke in PA?
Well, this is like when I worked at PA Bottlers was before Art Hauser passed away. Like Art was the owner. So that was before it went like corporate. It was privately owned when I worked there. And they had I was in the shipping department. So I used to ship Coke, man. It's my little joke.
Nice one.
Yeah. But I did that. I think it was like 2 or 3 years that I did that. And that was in like 2006, maybe 2004 in that vicinity. So yeah, that was quite some time ago.
15 years ago.
Yeah. Is when I worked for PA Bottlers. But the Raider tickets, I was like 13, dude. Going to when I had season tickets to that.
Huh. Yeah. I have yet to see a game.
A Raider game? Yet.
There was a couple of opportunities and then COVID, and now it's kind of like, oh yeah, we should go, and then COVID again.
Last Raider game I went to had box seats.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I wonder if they were still, when I was going there, they were playing all that music like
To Unlimited
and freaking Cotton Eye Joe and that one go like da-da-da-da-da, dun dun dun.
That's
dun,
Wickfield.
dun, dun, dun,
thun, those are my jams, man. That's
yeah,
what
that
I grew
was
up
the
on
shit
in the
that
90s.
oh man, over and over again.
We actually had a dance party upstairs with my kids.
And
I had a playlist with all the 90s shit going on.
That's hilarious.
I remember putting on Metallica and trying to teach my kids to mosh when they were really little. Now now my kids think I'm a giant dork, so can't do that stuff anymore. Teenagers, right? They're teenagers now.
And when they were young, they probably loved it, hey?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then once they're out of their teenage years, they're gonna go back and remember when we'd mosh with dad?
Oh, dude, my kid's turning 7, and when he was 4 years old, he was already singing Master of Puppets. I was just like, oh yeah, I was like, hell yeah, but now he doesn't. No, he doesn't at all, or he hasn't asked for it in a long time. Right now, he's into sea shanties.
That's the thing. Yeah. Did you see the sea shanty that the Hunter brothers did not too long ago?
I did not.
You got to look it up now.
I will for sure.
Okay,
it was very good.
Hey guys, these episodes of the Sit Down Podcast are brought to you by Funky Moose Records. Go to funkymooserecords.ca and shop around there. You can get all kinds of new and used records, some merchandise from past guests that we've had on the show, as well as our own podcast merch and Funky Moose Records merch.
And if you use discount code SITDOWN10, you'll get 10% off your first order.
Boom. It's like
I was just joking once. I was joking a couple of days ago to Will, and I was like, I pitched an interview to God once, but he was too busy. But this was an actual real story, because there's a comedian on Facebook that calls himself God and pretends that he's God, but it says very clearly in the about section that it's a joke page, but he has like 3 million followers or something like that.
That's hilarious.
So I once messaged his Facebook page and asked for an interview.
And he told you he was too busy?
Yeah, well, he didn't blow me off. He actually got back to me, but he said, "Oh yeah, I got a lot going on right now. Like, I don't know if I can, accommodate you, but thanks for asking," or something like that.
Interesting.
So that's my joke, is I pitched an interview to God once and he was too busy.
That's awesome.
Sacrilege. Sacrilege to end it.
Yeah. Unanswered prayers.
Yeah. Unanswered. That's the name of the episode.
Unanswered
prayers.
Who's the biggest though that you guys would do? Would you have Nickelback on the show? I worked for a station once that had a no Nickelback rule.
Dude, we are not we're just that not fanatic, but we are fans of just music and the arts, man. There's no prejudice or bias around here. I don't care if you shit all over us and then wanted to come on the show, we would probably still let that happen.
You think so?
Maybe. Depends how bad you shit on us, I guess. Right? But realistically, like I said at the top of the episode, like we're doing this for us and we're just trying to use our platform to help promote the artists out there.
Right.
So we would definitely not say no to a bigger band like Nickelback in hopes that we would maybe get some more views on the show to then highlight the indie musicians that we have on currently, right? Which was kind of the expectation with Theory of a Deadman, or not expectation, but that was the hope there too. Like, holy shit, like I'm a huge fan of them and diehard, like for life, man. I'll be a big fan of theirs forever. And that just didn't happen the way I expected it to go. But I have a theory on why as well. A theory on how Theory of a Deadman didn't. Anyway, it was because what helps to get eyes on us, because we're just freaking Joel and Mark from Bellevue, Saskatchewan here. We're not musicians, we're not artists, right? But what helps is when we have the episodes with these artists, like if they can help share it, like any clips that we're doing for it or posts about it that we're tagging them in it, some of them just don't reshare, or for whatever reason, it's fine if you don't, but I just can't promise as many views on it if you're not helping. Like I can only do so much, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And then, you get a bigger band like Theory of a Deadman on, and like as much as I'll tag them in shit, they're not going to share that. Do you know what I mean? Like I'm probably blocked on their accounts for all I know. They're not even getting it, right?
But then if you have a band like the Hour Hand or 7 Mile Sun or Weapons, they will tag us because they were on our show and we have a different bond with them.
Yeah, well, and I think because we've seen them outside of just the show, and like we've gotten to like have lunch with those people and like get a real genuine and personal vibe for what we're doing and what the mutual respect there, they get it. They know there's no hidden agenda here and what we're doing, they get it. So I think that's why they're so open to like, I'll, shoot this guy a blast or whatever, right? Yeah. That's what I think. I hope I'm right on that. I don't see how I could be wrong, but maybe.
Some of the bigger bands are good for sharing and they just will.
Yeah.
And then when I did that first Gene Simmons interview, I never got a share from Kiss social media, but I got a retweet from Gene.
Right.
And that shot my views up astronomically.
Right. Yeah.
The second time I chatted with him, I didn't get anything off him. And that ended up being a little over 100 views. But the first time I did, it was a couple of thousand because he had just done that one retweet.
Right. I don't do Twitter very much.
I have a Twitter account for like the zine and I don't use it.
I'm on Twitter every day.
Yeah, I know. I get notified. How come is it because I follow you? I get notified when you tweet?
Maybe. I don't know. Depends on your settings on Twitter, I guess.
Yeah, I guess I gotta look at that. I don't know.
One thing that's helped us out is Will does Instagram. And he's been really good about keeping that up to date.
Right.
You should have Will on the show.
Dude, I totally wouldn't say no, man. I'm sure he's a
real interesting cat. He's a cool guy. I'm not just saying that because he'll probably watch this. I mean that for real.
Well,
and
dude,
what a brilliant writer. Oh my God. I often say I'm the third or fourth, I mean, not that we're comparing, but I'm the third or fourth best writer. I don't know how I lucked out with these guys because I had no idea that any of them could do any of this stuff.
The last time I saw and talked to him, we were talking about who would they think would be an interesting headlining act for Moose Fest.
Oh, right.
That was the last time I talked to him.
Yeah. Did we get an answer?
Yeah, I'm trying to remember. Wasn't like Mother, maybe. Maybe that was somebody else was saying that.
That was that other girl that came to the booth.
Yeah, it was at Chesterfest though.
Yeah.
It was the last time I saw her talk to him. And I remember that was the conversation that we had, but I forget what his answers were to that question. And where, just so you know, Will, if you're listening, where we're going with the headlining act is, I don't think it's anybody that you mentioned. Just so, I'm just throwing that out there. It might be completely different.
Nothing personal, Will.
No, not at all. It's just the way the chips fell, right? Yeah. Okay. I think we are going to let you go, Scott, for the night. We appreciate the crap out of you, man, and I'm looking forward to running into you.
For sure.
At another event. This door is wide open for you, man. You are officially part of the Funky Moose family,
which he already was.
Which you already were, but this just solidified it. This was the stamp on it, the stamp of approval. So, welcome. Thank you so much. We appreciate the crap out of you, man. Come back anytime you want to. Come shoot the shit with us.
Yeah, the feeling is mutual, boys.
Right on.
Cool.
All right.
If you want to just stick on for a few minutes and we'll just say bye to everybody.
Bye, everybody.
Bye, everyone.